Hey everybody, this is John from the Chainwax Podcast. I'm going to put together some clips here from the early vlogs, from basically the early vlog number 3 here. I think you might find this interesting, so bear with me. It's going to jump right into the middle of the conversation. And if you're looking at the screen here, our product is designed, you'll never have to deal with this again, and you'll never have to deal with any kind of crock pots or anything like that as well. You'll never have a dirty chain. Your chain will always be clean to the touch from here on out. So we'll get started right here with Chainwax Podcast. This is a compilation of several different vlogs from the early first month doing the podcast.
So I'm going to have to start a chain lube vlog series here at this point. But here's the picture I sent to Michael, which he actually put it on the YouTube video. And this is something I wrote down, the top 7 things I wanted to accomplish. So none of the other chain lubes I've seen heavy marketing done for in the last 5 years. I'll say none of these other chain lubes with the heavy marketing since the Sea Otter show 2019, where I became sort of hyper aware of what other people started doing all of a sudden. Like within 6 months, there was already products trying to claim some of the things I was claiming. And I've had a chance to see some of them, and I realized, oh, they're trying to figure out what I'm doing. And I realized, yep, I better keep this really under wraps. But here's the point. My testing had these 7 things in mind in my development, where the zero friction cycling is just this, does it pass our test of whatever. So number 1 was to stay clean, and with that also quiet. So I was able to accomplish the stay clean part because I knew wax was noisy at the time. This is when I wrote this down. I was still crock pot dipping my chains, you see. And you can see the spatter there all over them from just sitting next to my setup. I stared at it all the time while I was developing crockpot waxes as well. I mean, I've come up with plenty of formulas for crockpot waxes, and they were all really good. And I did get to the point where they had incredible mileage, but they weren't totally quiet yet. So staying clean and for a liquid lube, drip lube, if you want to call it that. Mine's more of a gel, but stay clean and quiet was number 1. Number 2, which it's number 1 also, was no maintenance. No degreasers, gasoline never needed, never have to take your chain off, which is number 3, no quick link removal, because the more times you undo your quick link, the looser that connection becomes. And then I've lost chains on the trail. I mean, I've lost a quick link on the trail through rock gardens and stuff. Heavy, chunky sections. And there's nothing worse than going to take that pedal when you don't know you lost your chain. And you go to jam on the pedal and there's nothing there. And then you can fly over the bars just doing that. So quick link removal was something I wanted to eliminate from my life as well as the maintenance in step 2 there, or goal number 2 there, okay? So in order to stay clean and quiet without those 2 things, that's where that took a lot of work. And as a result, number 4 was chain life plus. Like, I wanted to get better chain life, at least twice the distance would be great. But if I only got the same chain life, I was still happy that steps 1, 2, and 3 were out of my life. Steps 1, 2, and 3 are the things most people complain about. The whole ritual of the chain. It takes just as long to clean your chain as it does to clean the rest of your bike. So this cuts your bike cleaning in half by eliminating ever having to clean the chain. Now again, my cycling background goes back to when I was 11 years old and I started racing BMX bikes. And I paused for a second because I was going to try to grab some of my early racing licenses. I still have a few of them. And I just saw it recently, but I couldn't find it in a pinch here. But back to this list, so the racing performance was something that was a huge importance for me going way back to when I was 11 years old. By the time I got into 12 expert class, it was really apparent that your bike had to be as friction free as possible. Like, we used to spin our front wheels. Mine would go for about 10 minutes. And back then we were taking all the grease out of our bearings and using like baby oil and maybe a little dab of Vaseline with some baby oil. I was doing that in my bottom bracket bearings, my hub bearings, my pedal bearings, everything that pushed the bike forward. I was taking all the grease out and doing that when I was 12 and 13 years old. Okay, so this is my experience. And what a hassle it is. By the way, on that note, you can add, like, say, the 5311 or the original Lubenschleiden is really good too. You can add that to your bearings. You just open up a seal, squirt some in, have it mix in with the grease. It'll work with the grease, and you'll turn your grease in the bottom bracket, in your hubs, into racing grease. Okay. Now, it's going to last a long time if you use it in conjunction with the factory grease that's in there. It'll blend with anything that they're using on the market right now. I've done it to my cross-country bike. I did the bottom brackets, and I've done the pedals, and it's amazing how fast they spin after that. So the racing performance was always in my life since I was 11 years old. Okay. And we achieved that with this product. It's probably better than anything else I've used ever. Even better than the crockpot chains that I used to do. Okay. And then number 6 and 7 was, wanted a product that was safe for the environment compared to everything else out there. You still have bottle waste and you still have other things, but you're not putting anywhere near the amount of solvents and things back into the environment that you do when you're using sonic cleaners and whatnot. And, and if you have an excuse like, well, I reuse the stuff over and over, that's good. But then number 7 is I wanted the product to be safe to be around and safe to work with, and safe when it's on your bike, safe when, by eliminating the cleaning process, you've eliminated exposure to anything. And I can get into degreasers and why the pH content of them is harmful to the chain, but that would be a little too scientific-y for this vlog. I wanted to just talk about my criteria versus whatever anybody else has for their testing, and why it's apples and oranges, because mine is real world testing on the bike with years and years and years of backups. I have Strava data as well. And, since Strava raised their prices and since Strava changed their business, personality, I don't know what word to use here. Strava made some major changes a few years ago, and I didn't want to be any part of that company anymore. I felt they were going a direction that I don't want to be part of anymore. And when they raised, I stuck at I paid my fees every month just to hang on to that data. But then they tripled the price for me. I was grandfathered in at $5 a month. I think it was $5 a month. Might have been $6. And I have a letter from them saying, you're grandfathered in forever. Don't worry. Da, 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 da. And then they raised it to 15 or something. I was like, you know what? I'm not paying $15 a month for something I don't use anymore. And I don't believe in this company anymore. And I want nothing to do with them ever, ever, ever. I really do not like their business model now. It's something I'm totally against. People that change the deal on you. Listen, when you a deal's a deal, and when you change it after you told me you would never change it, you're a liar. And I don't care what your excuse is. When they more than doubled their rates, it was simply to make a bunch of money at our expense. And at the time, I had no income, so it was like, you know what, I'm really not interested in being part of that anymore. And when I say no income, I mean I was relying solely on my chain lube business at the time. So, but our product is safe to use and safe for the environment compared to everything else out there. You know, it's not a zero factor, but it's much less than everything else that I've seen on the market. So that's the top 7 things. I think my product has completely nailed this list for years. That's why I keep it on my desk and look at it every day. And it goes from the desk to the refrigerator and back and forth. Right now it's on the refrigerator again. But I hope people try it and get the experience that we've all gotten that have the years of use. Long-term reviews have all said the same thing, and that's part of my data. The original data that I'm going to release sometime will be in the future after I work some deals out. So, you know, it'll be part of proving that to the people that need to see it. And right now I have writer testimonials, and that's what I think is a better thing to go by than actual lab results from some randomized test, which every test has different parameters, and mine is all real world testing between, you know, under my feet. That's what I did, and other people that did the same thing have had the same results. So I wanted to get into the chain lube wars I see online a little bit more, but it's something I'm trying to stay out of because I can see there's paid trolls or people that are just so passionate about their investment in their gizmos they bought to achieve this wax dipping experience. And it's fine. You know, I can say 2 things. If you use my product and you find it's better, then, you know, that stuff didn't go to waste. You can start making candles with all that equipment. Okay? Maybe I should start selling candle wicks on my website for people that finally abandon the crockpot stuff. You don't have to throw that equipment away. You can make candles with it. And that's what I suggest you do with your old chain wax formulas. Once you're done with that hassle, just turn it into a candle and call it a day. But I have no interest in partaking in the online chain lube battles with the trolls, because I can see from the different industries I've been in throughout my career as a trade show salesman, and, you know, basically I was a distributor who did trade shows and in different industries. I'm talking hardware, sporting goods, general merchandise, dollar stores, grocery stores. I've sold to every type of store there is. Big box stores. I've sold to everybody. Car dealerships all across America. I put baseball hats in car dealerships all across America. So anyway, you know, I've done a lot of different things, and I've seen the corporate sabotage that goes on, and I'm very familiar with how it looks now in today's world of the internet and YouTube comments and Facebook comments and things like that. So these trollings are getting very clever. They try to come off more positive now and not so negative, but what they're doing is they're name dropping on your channel. And I'm trying to avoid those type of promotions for products that, quite honestly, I'm getting a lot of feedback through the phone and through emails, and people are telling me that a lot of the crockpot stuff they're doing is noisy, the shifting is terrible, and doesn't get that great a chain life, and it's become a bigger chore than just the old ways. I'm getting multiple people telling me this. So I eliminated all that. Number 2 was no maintenance. There's not another product on the market that can claim that or achieve that, because they're not thinking outside the box like I did when I developed this. They're following the same old rules they learn in chemistry school. And those rules haven't worked for 100 years, and they're never going to work. So I invented alcohol-based chain lube. I invented the method of never having to clean it. I've invented the method of applying it and converting the chain from a factory grease to my product is a technique I developed as well. And everybody is trying to figure it out. It seems they've all fallen short in one way or another. And they cost more. So I don't understand why they're even, but they have huge marketing campaigns. So this is what I'm up against. This is why I get the trolling. And that's the reason for me doing this video. I'm going to try to find a way to publish this. This is for my own purpose, to listen back and get some ideas. And maybe I'll share it around with a few people. All right, guys, I'm going to go. And hopefully I'll get a ride in today.
All of this started almost immediately. Like, there wasn't even a product on the market there were dry lubes, but there wasn't a liquid wax yet. And if you look on my Leubenschleiden bottle, it says wax drivetrain liquid formula. So it was really new, you know, to figure out how to make these. They're calling them drip lubes now, okay? But for me, it was, the dry lubes weren't really wax lubes. They were something in between, and they don't work well. They last 6 or 7 miles for me. And the oil-based lubes got dirty. I had to clean them. And the only alternative back in 2015 was to do the crock pot. So again, I started out to figure out to get rid of the crock pot. Leubenschleiden did that. Wax drivetrain liquid formulas on the label still. And they're all still kind of, it's looking to me like they're all still where I was back then in the mid-2010s, and maybe not even that far. My 5311 outperforms what I'm reading about their product. I'm talking about the drip lubes that I've described earlier in this video, okay, from the two companies that are on the top of the zero friction cycling list. So they have wax melt lubes that they put the 1,000-mile test to, and then they have these drip lubes that you're supposed to supplement these wax dip chains with, but then they compare anybody else's product to their wax dip chain product, which, you know, it's noisy and it doesn't shift well, and it's actually very slow until the wax warms up. And I can tell you, there's a lot of things that are negative about it. Now, I've been trying to rehearse this in my mind all day while I was working on stuff at the barn. And, you know, there's about a half a dozen things I thought of today why the crock pot is so overrated. There's the wax dandruff that comes off your bike the minute you start pedaling, and the chain is slow, and then, man, it's like you can skip gears until you break all those. You got to break through all that wax that dried on your chain, you know, and you get this wax dandruff all over your black bike, and then you get in the sun and it melts in, and it's really not that great. And the environmental impact of that is not good either, because I know they've got certain ingredients in it that, you know, shedding off your bike chain all over the place, that's not good either. You know, all dry lubes will shed atoms off, period, but it's not that big a deal. The wax dip chain sheds a lot off, okay? And I mean, it's literally like dandruff. And it's really slow when it's cold. So I found ways around all of this using actual chemistry and not just copying somebody else's product that you saw at a bike show and then, you know, modifying it a little here and there, whatever they're doing. But I already know what they're doing. They're atomizing the wax, and they're making dust, and they're putting it in some kind of a carrier. And this is why you're not getting a good bond to your chain, for one. So, and whatever the Silka stuff is doing that actually holds up in the wet, that's better. They probably have a certain solvent in there to achieve that. I'll tell you one thing. I remember somebody showed me a wax product at the bike store, and I opened the cap, and I almost passed out. It was like I went, oh, I know exactly what that is. That's xylene. And xylene is illegal in LA County. And it was sold in the product in LA County as bike lube. And I went, wow, that's crazy. And I said, that product that they're using, I recognize the smell from being a car painter back. I used to paint guitars and cars, and then I knew. Well, I had a painting business. I did all kinds of high-end finishes for all the billionaires in town when I was a kid. So a lot of the chemistry, that's used in bike chain lubes, like they're using the same solvents that are found in like paint thinners and stuff. Okay, so when I smelled the xylene, I was kind of blown away, and that stuff will really melt the wax into the metal, but it's very, very hard to be around. I mean, it's like instant cancer smelling that stuff. So, you can use small amounts of things like that to get the wax to melt into your metal. But it's still just a wax dip chain. It's still mechanically, it's not doing anything beyond just mechanically sticking to the metal. It's temporary is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to find the right layman terms for this to describe it where you can get a mental picture. It's not doing anything other than liquefying the wax. The wax gets dry. It's stuck to your chain for as long as it can until the friction of the movement of the chain wears it off. So there's that. Now,
so now back to the whole zero friction cycling and these top companies that they sell. He sells their products on his website. He promotes their products on his YouTube channel, where he compares it to all kinds of other products on the market, and he slams them in order based on this test that, the products that pass the 1,000-mile test, this arbitrary test, simulation test, not even real world test, okay? Where real world is constant flow of dust the entire time. And it's just not even a factor in their test. They talk about chain break-in periods and stuff. I have eliminated the chain break-in problem. Okay, completely eliminated this chain. They're saying that your chain is not broken in for 500 kilometers. My chains are broken in within minutes. I mean, what I'm saying is you will not believe how loose the chain feels once you treat it with my product without ever even writing it yet. Now, I've got a test that I call the pendulum test. And what it is you take a chain and you hang it up from the ceiling. You hang it from above. And you put some weight on the bottom link below on the end, and you swing it back and forth and see how long it goes. This is the equivalent to what I talked about earlier about spinning my front wheel with no grease in the bearings, with our racing grease we made as kids. And we would try to get our wheels to spin for 10 or 15 minutes at a time. The pendulum test on a chain is something I came up with, that what it does is it shows the freeness between the links it's swinging from, okay? It's just how free it is. And when you hold one of my chains that's been treated in your hand, it's like a snake. There's no resistance between the links. And, when I did the crock pot stuff, that wasn't the case. It's very stiff, and you're basically wearing away most of the wax to get to that point. And they're saying, with a new chain, this break-in period is X amount of kilometers, and then with a freshly waxed chain, you have to warm it up. And, so on race day, you got to go ride for 45 minutes to get your chain warmed up to go race. I just want to just say the word scam right now, because it's like that. Who wants to deal with that? It's not a race chain if you can't just jump on your bike and race with it. There's just so many. There's like a dozen things in my mind right now. I gotta collect my thoughts and continue this direction here. But their claims of their products are extremely exaggerated, and the testing they're doing to other products that never claimed, this duration, this endurance duration that's supposedly the end-all be-all to decide who's the best product. Is it's a very narrow-minded view on what the chain needs to achieve in order to be, say, a racing chain or a maintenance-free chain, or these things. So just back to my list here. They've got like the stay clean thing figured out with wax, and anybody with a crock, you could just melt candles in your crock pot, and you're going to get the stay clean thing, but you're not going to have safe for the environment. It's just candle wax, but it's like you start putting additives to it and stuff, and it's going to shed off like the dandruff I talked about. So they don't have the no maintenance. They still don't have the no quick link removal. That's they still got to take the chain off every time, and I've talked about in the first vlog how dangerous that is. And so they do get some pretty good chain life, okay? But their racing performance, they claim, comes with some stipulations. You have to break this chain in for X amount of miles. You're not going to believe how, when you start using my product after the first 2 or 3 rides, you're going to feel it through the feet. You're going to, especially if you're clipped in, you're going to feel it, whether it's on a road bike or a mountain bike. You're going to feel just how smooth this is.
It was just really impressive.
I would agree 100%. When I first got on it, I was with a couple friends in the woods, and I was like, listen to that. And they were like, listen to what? I was like, exactly. There's zero noise coming from my drivetrain. And that lasted nearly the entire ride, that quiet, right? Up until, as everything heats up on an e-bike drivetrain system, you start to get a tiny bit more noise. But in general, it was like a liquid metal. It was so smooth.
Okay.
Like liquid metal, okay? Right up, this is first application. He's talking about the first time he rode with it after properly treating it with the chain prep formula, getting all the junk out of the chain. The first time he didn't put enough of the chain prep formula on, and after when he rode, the rest of the stuff was squeezing out of the chain, and it was like, he had to wipe it off with a rag and start over. So the chain lube was actually doing the work for you. So, this whole thing that I'm realizing now, here's the end of the detective story. I'm going to try to wrap this up so you understand here. I can see now that the Zero Friction Cycling channel is their vehicle of marketing for these top 3 products that they claim. I think the top 3 are like some Rex Diamond maybe, and then the Silka, and the Ceramic Speed, and maybe one other. I only spent, a few minutes listening to the latest video. I listened to the latest video once, spent a few minutes looking around, and that's it. To find some of the stuff I showed you here. But what I can tell you with 25 years in the trade show business and all these different industries I described in the first video, I've done I was the Southern California distributor for NASCAR, for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated for NASCAR products. And the corporate sabotage that happens on that level, you just wouldn't believe it. You're basically attacked constantly. People trying to take you down. So the takeaway from this, the detective work that it didn't take me long. I mean, literally listening to one video and doing tiny bit of research on their products of what they actually do versus what they actually claim and what they put other products up against, but they don't hold those standards to themselves. It's very clear to me that after 2015, when I developed mine, brought it to market in 2019, within 6 months, people were trying to figure this out, and other products were coming out. It's clear that this is the latest marketing tactics to provide an entertainment channel where you've got all this drama and slamming other products, promoting the top three, where the guy who's doing the testing is selling the products himself. It's not unbiased, but people are falling for this because it's entertainment. It seems genuine. The guy's a good actor. The guy's doing a great job of sounding actors are very good at playing roles. And basically, I call actors, professional liars. That's really what they are. And you can be entertained by them and believe it's even true. And the thing is that it looks, I'm rambling a little too much, but the point is that this is today's marketing strategy to provide. We used to have infomercials 25 years ago on TV, half-hour TV ads that were like a little TV show, like Billy Mays and stuff like that. And now we have YouTube videos that appear to be genuine, but really are in cahoots with a couple of manufacturers to promote their products and slam everybody else. And the reason why there's 3 products promoted by Zero Friction Cycling, if they just promoted Silka, it would be obvious. But what it looks like they've done is they've all teamed up. We're going to take over the market. There's room for 3 or 4 of us, and we're going to slam everybody else, and we're going to make it look real genuine with this testing platform. Then we'll design some products to pass this test, and none of the other products that are actually for daily use most of them won't hold up, and we'll be able to prove that with our test. And we're going to provide entertainment. People love this drama, and that's exactly what this is. And I am 100% sure of it. It's not an independent source. That's why he's selling their products, So the alternative is the guy just decided to start this channel out of the blue. The guy who's got no racing background or anything like that. Come on. It's like he's like an actor playing a role. So the thing is that now this video, I think I'll go back to that real quick. This video here, the latest video, just came out 5 days ago now. That was 4 days ago when I started this. This is their latest video called Friendly Fire. Now, this is part of the drama I'm talking about. So GCN, oh gosh, they exposed how, there was only 1 watt difference between the ceramic speed chain and a dirty chain. Well, this is entertainment, guys. They're using this is an infomercial. GCN is basically, every show is an infomercial, okay? It's everything in mountain biking videos is really just trying to sell you a product. They're just all infomercials. Channels like GCN, okay? And there's a lot of channels that that's why I don't watch them. Those channels are kind of for newbies. And so GCN is sort of a newbie channel. If you're ever like out riding and you see a guy ride by with a GCN kit on, wearing like a GCN jersey or a GMBN jersey on a mountain bike or a GCN kit on a road bike, they're a newbie. You just know they're a noob, right? I know some people are laughing out there right now. And the thing is that by them doing this friendly fire video, supposedly unscripted, listen, nothing's unscripted. Okay. What's the takeaway? Now, this zero friction cycling video is like, oh, we just undid all this education and now we have to teach these people that you're going to destroy your drivetrain. Well, exactly. Why do you think they did this video for all these newbies? They want them to use the oil-based products. You know why? Because they're going to sell more cassettes and chains and chain rings and jockey wheels and chain lube and degreaser. You see what just happened? This is not only entertainment, but it's self-serving to them, because they know the newbies will just go, oh, I'll just ride the old stuff. And then you go in your bike shop 6 months later to have a tune-up or whatever, and they go, you need new chain, jockey wheels, cassette, and chain ring. What? Well, I just did what GCN said, and, a dirty chain is just as fast and efficient as a clean chain. Yeah, but it doesn't keep your parts new. So, they're actually capitalizing on the ignorance of new riders here, is what this GCN Ceramic Speed disaster video, they call it a disaster. See, that's entertainment for you guys that know the truth about how great wax is for your parts. But for the newbie, they heard everything they needed to hear to just be lazy. They heard everything they needed to know to just be lazy, and then they're going to find out, oh, wow, it's going to cost me $1,500 to replace all these parts. Some people have to learn the hard way. But anyway, this channel is all about entertainment, infomercial, promoting the products that support this channel, the Zero Friction Cycling channel. It's not 100% genuine. I mean, there's some true facts there. You have to have truth to sell the lie. All lies are 90% truth. Okay. So yeah, this data is true according to their test, but the wax that they put at the bottom of the list. Now, if you listen to this video and how he just smugs the wax product, just dropping these little comments. This is what I talked about in the very first vlog, number 1. That they just show up in the comments and they drop these names and they just make these little hints that this product's better, and these are all corporate attacks, guys. These are all corporate attacks. This is the way it looks today. It's just random people in comment sections that have no credibility, but they say these words, and most people go to a video, go right to the comments, start reading stuff, and they know that, and that's part of their corporate strategy now. This is something I'll never partake in, but I'm going to expose it. Like I said, I've done nothing here, but it just expose what they're doing by showing you with their own words. Now, you can go through this video and see it all for yourself. And there's probably hundreds of other videos done by them where they slam other businesses, and you can see it. But again, in the beginning here, I pointed out that their own top companies that they promote, their similar non-crock applied products are no better than the wax or even the muck off for that factor, from what I understand. But as far as durability, now we're going to get into eventually the chemistry of doing the degreasers, and the chemistry of stripping your chain down to bare metal and exposing it to oxygen and all these things. And basically, my product has eliminated all of that as well. My products, all of them, give you these 7 things, where theirs only give you maybe 1 or 2 or 3 at the most. Okay. The most they can claim, every single one, it'll stay clean, yes, but it requires maintenance. So there's a fail, number 2. quick link removal, remove chain, fail number 3. They do get the chain life if you are in certain conditions and using certain products, but not others. And then the racing performance comes with some stipulations as well. So, and then most of these have environmental good ingredients from the environment, but the process of the dipping the chains is there's a lot of shedding that goes on, and that's not something I don't want it all over my bike. I remember my back wheel was covered with wax. My back rims on my road bike were covered with wax from doing the crockpot stuff. And then, safe to handle, they may or may not have that covered. I think most of the wax products are probably pretty darn safe. But again, those top 2 drip waxes, they've only mimicked my very first original Smooth Lube, which I debuted here at Sea Otter in 2019, and let's see here, what's going on. And all the chain lube companies came to my booth, all of them. I saw them, wearing their polo shirts with their embroidered logos on their chest and their hats, and all of them were there. And, I was talking to them, and they were all pretty cool. Some of them were very, very pushy to know things about, and I said, hey, I'm here to sell my product, not tell you guys how I did it. And it looks like they haven't made very far steps at all since I developed this first Smooth Lube product here, the white bottle. It looks like they may have gotten maybe to the point of adding a few extra added. But even my Smooth Lube 1.2 seems to hold up better than what their claims are or what the reviews have shown. Those are, the reviews that I read some stuff. And this is what I'm hearing too from other customers. I've heard that some of the stuff washes right off, and it's like, well, all of these are waterproof, guys. All of them are to a degree, like, a full-blown mud womp and rye. Here's the parameters, okay? If your brake rotors are still functioning, my chain lube's probably going to be still working. If your bike is so muddy that the wheels can't, if your wheels can still pass through your fork and chain stays with not too much mud built up, my product's going to hold up. The minute the mud cakes up to where it clogs your chain stays and your bike stops rolling, your chain is completely inundated with mud. Guess what? My product still works fine once you rinse that mud off. I've done it. I've gotten stuck out here in the clay. Believe it or not, it happens once in a blue moon. You get caught out in a big rain, and the only way home is through the clay. You just hit one little patch, and bam, the whole rear end is packed solid. It happened a few years ago, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, and I was so embarrassed. I was like, I haven't done this in 10 years. But my chain was packed solid with mud, and so when I got it, took it apart on the trail, I got some water with my water bottle, I cleaned up the bike, rinsed the chain, and you know what? It was totally silent. Totally silent. It shed right away, and there was plenty of lube left to get through the rest. It didn't even stop me from doing the ride. I just had to take about a 10-minute break to take the wheels off the bike, scrape everything clean, and found some puddles of water and clean the bike up with my water bottle. And so these products have been designed to be waterproof from day one. It sounds like the top performers aren't even really, one of the two hasn't even figured that out yet. All right, so my Uber Lube, this is the Uber Clear. I don't have the Uber Clear label on this. This is before I renamed them. So the Uber Clear has the gold label here. It says Uber Clear on the top now. This is basically my winter formula now. It's 5311 on steroids. It's basically got a lot more of what you would supposedly call the crockpot wax. Okay, so it's got more of that in there. Keep this in your pocket. Keep it a little bit warm. While we're talking about that, if any of my products ever freeze solid, okay, all you got to do is put it in boiling water. You don't even need to boil it. You need to run the hot tap water in a bowl and put the bottle in there. Use the shipping cap, preferably, and let it sit for a half hour. Keep adding more hot water to keep it, if it's an ice cube, it's going to cool the water down. So keep it hot as you can, or stick it in the sun. But if it's freezing out, it's probably not very hot outside. So hot water is the best way to do it. And then from there, you can put it in your pocket. You can put it on the dash of your car with the heater. I put mine next to the coffee maker in the morning. I'll just set it next to it. The radiant heat of the coffee maker is enough in my cold house, which is about 55 degrees right now. It's very cold today. I left the window open here in the living room, and it rained last night. So we've got some hero dirt out there. I'm hoping to get a ride in today. But I wanted to just touch on the fact that if my product freezes solid, the emulsion is not destroyed. A lot of these other products, if they're frozen, you'll never get them back to where they were, because the emulsion process they do is different than mine. And mine will re-emulsify. Basically, this product never goes bad. Even if you leave the cap off, it'll dry out, right? But you can add alcohol and heat it up like I just described, and shake it up, or use the little paintbrush, the backwards, and stir it up like a paint stick. You can add alcohol to revive it, because if you leave the cap off, a lot of the alcohol is going to evaporate away. So add some more, shake it up. You can even stir it up with the with the paintbrush that comes with it, using the paintbrush backwards. And if it's really been neglected, and you want to soften it a little more, you can add a few drops of baby oil to it, or like a food grade mineral oil. If you really want to, if the bottle, let's say you've just left it in the garage for a year and it's not in top condition anymore because of it's being stored in a hot garage and things like that, you can add alcohol to it. A few drops of baby oil will help soften the wax back up. It won't hurt it at all. Just go slow till you get there. Most mountain bikers have a spray bottle of alcohol handy. You just take the cap off, squirt a couple of shots of the alcohol in there. I use alcohol to clean my bike and my brakes, so most people these days have that set up as well. Well, I hope I've shed the light on just what is really going on here. It's a self-serving thing. It's not a fair test. And if I designed a product to pass this test, it might not meet the criteria of my top 7 list, and that was more important. And again, I lube my chain every ride. You know why? Because I've been racing since I've been 11 years old, and you're supposed to lube your chain every ride. You're supposed to pump up your tires every ride and clean your stanchions on your full suspension bike. Clean your fork stanchions. Make sure there's not a bunch of debris in your pivot points. If you want your bike, my bikes that are now 7 and 8 years old still ride like they're brand new, because I just do these tiny little things every time I ride. It's 5 minutes. Pump up the tires, lube up the stanchions, cycle the stanchions with the fresh lube on the stanchions, wipe those clean, and lube the chain and go. That's it. And check your cables while you're sitting there waiting for the oil to penetrate into your fork and shock seals. Just check your cables, make sure those are good, make sure your brakes don't need to be bled. Simple stuff. And my bike's all, and check your brake pads once in a while, make sure those are good. And these are all the things you do to make sure when you go out there and you're in the boonies by yourself, you don't get stuck with a broken bike. Okay. And Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little exposure of just what's going on here. I suggest you listen to this video yourself and listen for some of the things I pointed out, and you'll see this is not genuine. This is definitely part of a marketing strategy of three top companies to make it appear independent, because he's not siding with just one. It's this company, and this company are on the top there, but that's how you're able to sell it. If it was just one, it would be too obvious. So there's 4 top companies here. Black Diamond or something is another one. I don't remember. Don't care. Like I said, my product since 2015 has been in development. It looks like they're still trying to catch up. Their top products aren't any better than Chainwax, truly. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Hopefully this will all paste together and be something worth listening to.